and welcome to another episode of How to Feed Yourself. Okay, so for this episode we are going to do a breakfast dish because we've done, pizza, spaghetti. Now we're going to do a sort of a breakfast staple. We're going to do a frittata. So frittata is basically like, think quiche but without the crust. So it's eggs with vegetables, seasonings, maybe some like bacon or ham or something. It's really versatile because you can put in kind of whatever you want. So I'm going to show you like the basic kind of formula, and then you can mix and match whatever veggies and fillings you want. So the one we are going to do one with potato, bell pepper, and green onion. I would normally use just regular onion, but I need green onion for something else, and I only use this part of the pack, so to use up an ingredient that would go bad, instead of regular onion like I would do, I'm going to use green onion in this, and we're also going to add spinach. See? So we are starting off, I already have my cast iron skillet heating on the stove because it takes a while to heat up. You can use whatever kind of skillet you want. This one is good because it can go in the oven. So you can either use an oven safe dish like I'm going to do, so that you take it straight from the stove into the oven, or you can just use a regular frying pan, transfer it into a dish that can go in the oven, and then do it that way. That may not technically be a frittata, but we're going to call it the same thing because it's essentially an egg dish. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and preheat the oven because I almost forgot about that. We are going to set it to 350 because that's a really good kind of basic temperature to set things to. I'm going to go ahead and warn you, I'm not really running off any recipe. I've made frittatas a few different times, usually with a different recipe. So we're just going to kind of wing it and adjust, because you have to do that anyways. I don't think I have followed a recipe exactly in years. Because, I mean, when people write recipes, they're using their kitchen or a professional kitchen with its specifications, and your kitchen at home is always going to be a bit different. So you're always having to adjust. But let's get going. So I'm going to bring you down here so you can see what I've already done. Close enough. So as you can see, I have already cut up my green onion. I've separated the whites from the greens because they cook different times. So we're going to put the whites in a lot sooner than we're going to put the greens. And then in this bowl I have my diced bell pepper and potato. So I did the potato a fairly small dice because I want it to cook up pretty quick, and the bell pepper is just a little bit bigger because it cooks just a little bit faster. I don't want to bore you with me chopping for 30 minutes. Well, not 30 minutes, more like 15, but I didn't want to bore you with that, so I went ahead and did that before I started filming. So we are going to transfer over and check on the pan. Alright, so I've got my pan heating here. I love a cast iron skillet. It's a really good pan to have because it is oven safe and stove safe. And if you use it frequently and treat it well, it's going to be amazing for you. So it's actually already pretty warm. I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. So I'm doing about medium, maybe medium high heat on this, because I like a pretty decent char on my vegetables. It's going to give them a little more flavor inside the frittata because eggs by themselves don't have a whole lot of flavor. And I'm definitely going to turn it down just a smidge because it's getting super hot. I don't want to start a fire. That would be bad. If that ever happens, y'all can call me out so much, or actually I'll probably reshoot the video. But it's hot, so I'm going to add some oil. I don't need to do too much because cast iron already is sort of nonstick because it has, you sort of like cure it with oil almost. And I have a pot holder here for the handle because the handle always gets really hot. I might have turned it down too much. It's constant adjustments with this. So it's pretty warm, so I'm going to go ahead and add my chopped bell pepper and potato. Just going to take that and dump it in. And I just use red potato. I prefer like either the red or the Yukon Gold or yellow. Russet to me sometimes just tastes like dirt, so I don't use it too often. You can use whatever potato you prefer. And the same with bell pepper. I usually get green because it's the cheapest, but you can use red, yellow, or whatever you want, essentially. You are also free to peel the potatoes before you do it. I don't care about the peel, so I just leave it on because I'm lazy and I don't feel like sitting there and peeling. And if you ever need a shortcut, you can buy a frozen pre-made potato, onion, bell pepper mix. It's usually called like Potatoes O'Brien. Sometimes if I know I'm going to be in a rush that week and I want to do something with that mixture, I'll just buy that and use that. It's really good. I'm going to do this. I get stuff everywhere. You should know this. It looks like I've got about enough oil. So the seasoning I'm going to use today, I'm going to do garlic, salt, and pepper, just keeping it simple. Garlic, a lot of garlic. Decent amount of salt because the potatoes will just soak up the salt. And then pepper. I will say with potatoes, you have to kind of keep an eye on like the oil because it will, I swear they just like soak it up. So if it just starts super sticking and burning everything, I'll probably add a little more oil. But until then, and hopefully I can keep it in the pan. Give that a good stir. And then we're going to leave it alone so it can cook. Left to my own devices, I will sit here and stir this endlessly, but it does do better if you just let it cook. So while we're waiting on that, we'll go over and get our egg mixture ready to go. Put it here. I think you can see it pretty good. So, just a bowl and a fork to mix things with. We're gonna guess the number of eggs that I think we'll need, and then we'll kind of see how it goes. We'll do about what I think we need, maybe a little under, and then when we pour it in, when it's time, if we need more, I can mix an egg. I can scramble an egg really quick. So we're gonna start with, I don't know, 8 eggs? 8 eggs. These always get everywhere. And because the eggs always make a mess for me, I will definitely be sanitizing this counter afterwards. But we've got our eggs in, but we're gonna pause a moment, stir our potato mixture, and add the whites of our green onions. Now, green onions don't take as long to cook as regular onions. If I had regular onions, it would have been added at the same exact time as the potato and bell pepper. But we waited a little bit on the green onions because they're smaller pieces and they cook a lot faster. You could even add them later if you want. I don't like a very strong onion taste, and I don't want them anywhere near raw because I hate that flavor. So I always add them really early so that they get really well cooked and caramelized. It's up to you. Matter of personal taste. So we have our 8 eggs, and I am actually going to add just a little bit of milk. I think it tastes better that way. Personal preference, again, you can just do straight egg. You can do whatever you want. I wouldn't mix water in like you would for like scrambled eggs in this because I don't think it would turn out very well, but you could just skip the milk. especially if you're lactose intolerant, but it's just regular old whole milk because, like we said, low-fat dairy is alive. And we're just gonna add maybe a quarter of a cup. Just kind of eyeball it, and then we're gonna mix. Alright, so essentially I just kind of want it all to be about the same color, so all one color, get all the whites kind of broken up, so we don't want any sort of bit that's just white or just like a bit of yolk, all nice and mixed, and then we can just leave it. Let's go back and check on our potato and bell peppers. So as you can see, they are browning pretty nicely. I want them about done, but not quite done because we are going to bake this for a bit. So let me stir it and kind of get an idea of where we're at. And we are burning. Alright, so it's sticking a little, but it's not a big deal because I can still kind of see like a shine, so it's not like there's not enough oil, it's just temperature, whatever, because it's not fully non-stick. But it's all okay because it comes right off. And they're doing good, they're getting close, but they're not quite there yet. So we're going to take a little break and I will meet you back here when it's time to add the egg. Alright, and we are back. Our veggie mixture is looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the greens of the green onion, so they can cook a little. And I realized I forgot to tell you how many green onions I did. I did 5, just because normally I would do like maybe half of a regular yellow onion. And this was semi-close to it. Because there's a lot of green in this, but it'll be fine. Green's good for you. We're just going to stir that in. Oh, and I also, while this was cooking, I seasoned our egg mixture with some salt, pepper, and garlic because otherwise you'll end up, it doesn't matter how much you put on here, you'll end up with flavorless frittata. I've done that too many times. So we've got our greens in there. I'm going to turn this back up just a smidge. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add spinach, and we are just going to wilt the spinach, and then we're going to add our egg mixture. We don't want the spinach to overcook. I'm going to do a couple big handfuls of spinach. So it just kind of covers because it always cooks down so much. Actually ended up being probably about half a bag. Then we will just gently stir this in. Alright, so you can also put cheese in your frittata. I frequently do, I'm not in the mood for it this week. If you wanted to do that, you would mix the cheese in your egg mixture, not in here, otherwise your cheese is all going to be on the bottom and stick to the bottom, and it's not going to be fun. You want it all mixed through, so you'll put it in with the egg so that it gets added right then, and it stays mixed in. We're getting there. swear I can't ever keep my vegetables in the pan. Come on. There we go. Alright. So this is just wilted, so we're going to pour in what we have for our egg mixture and see how everything looks. I'm just going to kind of distribute it this way. So the egg will rise a bit, so I want it to cover most of the vegetables, but not necessarily like completely cover, because it's going to puff up a bit and do it. And I don't mind if my veggies on top get a little extra browned. So I think it's actually about right for this. Some of it depends on the size of your pan, how many veggies you've put in it, that sort of thing. I'm just going to pat some of this down so it all kind of gets a little bit of egg in it. I don't have anything sticking out too far, that would burn. And we're actually going to cook it in here for a little bit. I think almost until the edges are starting to look good, and then we pop it in the oven. Again, I'm not really working off any recipe, I'm just kind of doing this how I remember I did it the last time. So we're winging it, people. A lot of times, once you kind of have played around and experimented a bit, you can kind of just know how to do some of these things. It takes a lot of practice, and I do still occasionally make things that do not turn out very tasty. But, you know, that's part of life. You make some mistakes, you learn a little something, you move on. So this is doing pretty good. I did turn up the temperature just a smidge, because I mean the eggs in the milk are very cold. Ooh, we're bubbling in the middle. So I wanted it to come up to temperature. Alright, so this is almost like there's little bubbles popping up over here. And I can see my edges are starting to form something. So we are actually going to go ahead and stick this in the oven. Alright, and we are going to start with 20 minutes at 350 and kind of see how it goes. Oh my gosh, you can see I've lost some bell pepper and potato. It's fine. And then once the timer goes off, we'll check on it. I might even check on it a little bit earlier just to be certain, because you don't ever want to overcook egg, because then it's just gross. So I will be back with you in a bit and we'll see how the frittata is doing. Okay, so we're back. It actually only took about 8 minutes. It may be a little overdone because I wasn't quite paying attention, but if you come over, let me adjust, you can see everything's looking pretty good. When I shake it, does it jiggle? It would be okay if it jiggled just a little bit in the middle, because it's going to keep cooking and continue to set. So now that this is done, I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to go ahead and slice it, because I like to just have it ready to go where I have to do as little as humanly possible first thing in the morning. Essentially, it's like it's pre-coffee. We got to keep it simple, people. The really great thing about this is you can slice it up and freeze it so that you have a breakfast ready for on the go. You can just pop it in the microwave, be good to go. You can top it with whatever you want: ketchup, salsa, cheese, avocado, whatever your heart desires. And it's a really quick, easy breakfast once you've done it. And honestly, it doesn't take that long to prep or anything. This took a little bit longer because I wanted so many different vegetables in it, but if you just did one or two, and even some things that you get pre-sliced, it could be a really, really quick, easy breakfast to make. But that is it for this episode. Next episode, we are going to do a really simple stir fry with just whatever vegetables I decide on that week. And I will see you then. I hope you all have a great day. Bye, guys!